Hello, my name is Tim Stewart. I work with Visual Decisions Inc. We're here today to talk about the CESMII Smart Manufacturing Roadmap process. So let's begin with why do a roadmap in the first place? You certainly want to begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey once wrote in Seven Habits. You don't want to end up at a dead end at the end of your journey. And so how do you minimize that risk of failure is one of the things that we'll be talking about today. But to do that, you really want to understand the value. You want to start from the end. What are the business objectives that you're trying to achieve? You want to understand what are the inhibitors, what are the things that are preventing you from doing better in those areas today. And you want to also create alignment. You want to set the vision and communicate it so that you can get buy-in and adoption from the people within your organization. And you want to adapt the processes within your company to really take advantage of whatever new capabilities you're putting in place. Why the CESMII roadmap? Well, first of all, it's an industry standard approach. They're not coming in from a solution perspective. It's solution agnostic. So they're not a vendor that's trying to sell you on buying their solution. They're an organization that is there to help American manufacturing achieve all the goals that you want to achieve: higher growth, higher profitability, and so forth. CESMII, if you're not familiar with them, is the official United States Clean Energy and Smart Manufacturing Innovation Institute. They're part of the overall Manufacturing USA initiative that was started many years ago. And they're responsible for helping to drive the adoption of smart manufacturing within the US to really help boost the productivity of US manufacturing. In terms of the roadmap itself, it's fairly low cost and high value. The templatization and the IP that's been put into the roadmap allows it to be done very quickly, but at a very high value. And it's also a relatively light resource commitment from your side. Why use Visual Decisions to do this? Well, we've done it more than anyone else outside of CESMII. And to be frank, we're pretty darn good at it. All right, to get started, we're going to take a few slides here and just take a quick look at how CESMII defines smart manufacturing and why it's valuable to these organizations. So the way that CESMII looks at smart manufacturing, it's information-driven, event-driven, efficient and collaborative orchestration of business, physical, and digital processes within plants, factories, and across the entire value chain. If we look at that a little bit in more detail, from an information-driven perspective, you want to spend less time finding information. You want to have that information instantly available so that you can make sense from it, you can derive insights from it, and make more informed decisions. You want that to happen in real time as events are happening out on the shop floor. You want to be able to get that information to the right people in real time so that they can take they can take actions on what is actually happening out on the shop floor. And when you have to be reactive much more quickly than you are today. But you also want to be able to look at things in a more proactive manner and look at how you're going to optimize the allocation of your labor, material, energy, and so forth across the entire supply chain and within your plants. You want to have that be collaborative so that all your people are working together and pulling on the same end of the rope. You want to have your digital processes in line with your physical processes so that you are making those decisions in the best possible way. And finally, you don't want to look at things one machine at a time. You want to be able to look across the entire plant. You want to be able to look across the entire organization and the entire supply chain so that you can really optimize things, not just within that one cell or that one resource, but really across the entire flow of materials. CESMII has defined some first principles for you to plan in your smart manufacturing systems. They should be open and interoperable. They should be scalable in real time. They should be secure from attack and resilient to failure. And also they should be proactive and even semi-autonomous where it's possible. Successful implementations of these solutions can bring enormous advantages. According to this particular study from McKinsey, the potential value includes things such as a 10 to 30% throughput increase, 15 to 30% labor productivity increase, and a 10 to 20% cost of quality decrease. The functional benefit areas of smart manufacturing are captured here in this study from Gartner. Survey respondents named operational excellence, optimized processes, and improved decision-making as the top 3 outcomes from implementation, but there are many, many, many more. Unfortunately, those benefits don't come easy. There are many different studies that show the majority of smart manufacturing pilots do not lead to the anticipated benefits. As an example, this study from Deloitte shows that only around 1/3 of all pilots lead to the company being able to operationalize their efforts, and even less than that to actually achieve all of their different goals. And in fact, across all studies, there's a range of anywhere from a 70 to a 90% risk of not fully realizing those anticipated benefits. When those studies delve into the reasons why, they find that the majority of causes are people issues such as alignment or misalignment or lack of buy-in. There are also many issues where the companies don't fully adapt their processes to take advantage of the new capabilities, and only in isolated instances is the issue with the technology itself. The example I like to use with this all the time is a Fitbit. It's not a manufacturing device, but it is an IoT device, and it's got very advanced sensors. It takes information from your wrist. It turns that or pushes that to the cloud, uses AI to turn that into footsteps and heartbeats and sleeping patterns and all kinds of good information. It presents that graphically to you on your phone, your watch, your computer, etc. But if you don't change your behaviors, if fundamentally you don't do something differently tomorrow than you do today, you're not going to lose the weight, and you're not going to achieve your objectives. And it's the same thing on the shop floor. You can put these systems in place and they'll probably do what they say they're going to do. But if you don't pay attention to your people, if you don't look at the behaviors of your people within the process, if you don't adapt the process itself to take advantage of the new capabilities, then you're not going to really achieve the outcomes that you're looking for. And along those lines, the top reasons for failure are identified in this Forbes study. The number one reason named here is a lack of alignment to business outcomes. Too many of these efforts are conducted as a science experiment without connection to the overall business. Fundamentally, the implementations are focused on getting the technology working, but little effort is made to change how people do their jobs on a daily basis. As in the Fitbit example, this means that companies won't lose the waste within the production operation. So how can all of these landmines be avoided? The best way to do so is to have a roadmap that begins with the business objective and incorporates the people, process, and technology changes that are required to reach them. And this is an overview view of the acceleration framework itself. Starting on the left side with Explore, that's really just understanding what is possible. Then we have the key steps within the roadmap itself, doing an assessment, looking at the current state of the business and what are the different opportunities that you have. We move into the focus phase where we start to do some deep dive interviews with the people in the organization, trying to understand what are the business drivers, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities that the business faces. We take that, we feed that into a value proposition or a business case development process. And then we look at what is the desired future state for the organization? What are the things, where do you want to be within the next 3 years so that we can start to plot a course from here to there? And that course is mapped in that road mapping process itself. So we feed in all of the things that we found during the assess and the focus phases, where you are today, where you want to be, what are the challenges and obstacles that are in the way. And now we start to look at what are the things that we can put in place from a technology perspective, a process perspective, a people perspective that will overcome those obstacles and get us from here to there. Once that's complete, the road mapping process itself is done, and the company will move into an execute and sustain and then a validate phase. And then what you want to do is you want to cycle back on a yearly basis and redo this planning process so that you can continuously keep that updated, adjust the roadmap as you go, and incorporate more new technologies as they come up and so forth. Looking at this in a little bit more detail, the results of the survey in that current state process will come back, and the survey itself goes across 6 critical smart manufacturing areas, being manufacturing strategy and leadership, manufacturing excellence and culture, data-driven processes, connected systems, optimized workforce, supply chain resiliency, and agility. And the scoring is basically on a 1 through 5 basis, where 1 is being highly reactive as an organization, and 5 is being highly adaptive as an organization. Now, this is showing just the mean result from the different people that take the survey, and you want to be as broad as possible within the company as you can be. And what we can do once we have those survey results back is to look at how does the perception change within the organization based on different dimensions of the data. So we might look at things at a corporate versus a plant level. We might look at things on a operations versus a support staff perspective. We might break it up into different departments, but those things will help give us insight into how do different groups perceive the company and the current state of the organization, and then how do different groups perceive the different challenges and so forth. And so once we have that, what we do is we move into that state of doing interviews with the people to find out what are the real drivers and what are the real challenges that are behind their responses. From there, we're going to look at that future state. Where does the organization want to be in the next 3 years? And that will tell us where we are today, where we want to be, and how far we have to go. And as we look at that, we can start to think through what are some of the different potential initiatives to get us from here to there. And this is just a few of the examples, and it's things like connected worker, equipment and systems interoperability, real-time data collection and monitoring, and even things like new business models or connected customers, different things from a product service perspective and so forth that will help us achieve those business goals. We're also going to put together that value map or the business case. And we're doing this in a back of the napkin type of math. It's not meant to be an exhaustive analysis, but it does give us directional information about where the biggest opportunities are for the business. And so it takes just really a few different inputs in terms of what are the base financials and then what are the key loss areas within the organization. And from that, we can then calculate what is really the potential for savings in both a demand constrained view where your throughput does not increase or your output does not increase. And then if you have the opportunity to sell more, if you can make more, what is the growth potential and what could the value be if you can do so? That's all going to tie or feed into the road mapping process itself. And within the roadmap, we look at those 6 different key dimensions and what are the business objectives within each one of those different areas. So it might be profitable growth or debottlenecking or reducing losses as we go. And then we're going to come up with the initiatives that we have as part of those different key areas and tie those into the business objectives. So if it's not tied into the objectives that we're trying to achieve, then it may not be something that we need to do right away. Once we have those initiatives laid out, we're going to put that into a timeline and look at what comes now, what comes next, and what we do in the future. And if you think of a 3-year timeline, that can roughly be what do we do in year 1, what do we do in year 2, and what's in year 3. And the way that we start to prioritize those is, first of all, what are the things that are easy? What doesn't have any precedence requirements? What doesn't have any infrastructure requirements? What are the things that we can do maybe without implementing new technology and so forth, just upskilling our people or adapting the process and so forth to take better advantage of data that we already have? And then what are those infrastructure things that we want to put in place that we're going to take advantage of downstream? And then also on a value dimension, what are the things that we can put in place now that are going to be higher impact so that we can get that value flowing if possible? Another way to look at that is from a more narrative perspective. And so we can look at the 6 different areas and have a narrative about what the current state or current practices look like. What is our improvement plan? And then once we put ourselves into the future, what is that going to look like from a narrative perspective? What is the story that we can tell about the future once these improvements are in place? And this is going to help sell this within the organization, whether selling up to management or selling out to the people that are going to have to take part in this. We can also look at this from a roadmap plan perspective and see what are the different timelines for these different objectives and make sure that we're not overloading too many teams at one time with too many different initiatives. Then, if we look at the overall summary for the presentation again, why start with a roadmap? You definitely want to aim before you fire. Before you throw that dart, make sure that you're aiming at the center of the dartboard. And you want to you do that by understanding the potential value. You want to focus your efforts in the right area from the beginning. You want to create that alignment. You want to set that vision. You want to communicate that vision across the organization and get that buy-in from people. And you want to also be able to adapt the processes to take advantage of those new capabilities and minimize the risk of failure. Why the CESMII roadmap? It is an industry standard approach. It's solution agnostic. So that you don't have that vendor lock-in when you're done. But it can also be done quickly because of all the IP that's been baked into that from the different CESMII contributors. And it's relatively low cost, but high value. And it's also a relatively light resource commitment. So how can you get started? Well, first of all, you can take the survey for free. I said that the first step is that current state survey. And you can actually have people within your organization take that for free. So if you reach out to me on LinkedIn or through email, my LinkedIn, if you just look up Tim Stewart, Visual Decisions, you'll find me there. Through email, I'm tim@visualdecisions.com. And when you reach out to me, I'll just need some basic company information to set up a profile within the survey system. And then I can send you a link and you can add as many people from your organization as you like to take the survey. I can get the results from that and present that to you with some additional slicing and dicing and so forth, looking at the over 1,000 other people that have taken the survey and show where your organization stands within that. So please reach out to me and we can get you set up. Thank you. And I hope that you reach out to me and we can go on this journey together. Thank you. Bye-bye.